have a comment here and a question at the same time. The world is caught up in a kind of guilt complex resulting from the various unconscious and conscious agreements people have made. And this guilt pattern stands in the way of the wonderful worldwide educators and their presentation of the new presentation. This lingering guilt could still be affecting even those who who have come on board the new presentation. So, what do you see? What do you say about this? And how can we help people go beyond to overcome this guilt complex by encouraging them to sing, by encouraging them in other ways other than singing the new song? Because this guilt complex it runs deep.
You're very right. All these things do. Anything that's taking place in society, and again, society has created it, and also they've created so-called remedies, such as psychology and whatever. So, again, it's something to play with. But for myself, if I want to look at anything that comes up, because it always does. You're always dealing with all kinds of things, and it's just like when you walk outside, you're taking on particles, you're taking on dirt. The body does what it does. It perspires. It does whatever. Everything is in action. Okay, and you have to deal with it. You have to maintain it. And so the simplest way for myself, what I do for myself is, number one, I just be now. Okay, because again, when you're constantly thinking in a so-called forward motion about this or that or whatever, or how do I arrange this or how do I do that, what you're doing is you're perpetuating yourself in a particular way to where you're actually, you might say, collecting more situations, and the guilt factor is there too. And then many times, just like here's Christmas as an example, many people feel guilty if they don't go out and Christmas shop. This is how it's been geared, okay? I don't Christmas shop. I figure that, when everybody's big now, they can buy their own stuff if they want, because people are buying things all year long, and all of a sudden, well, Christmas is special. Well, it is, if it is to you. Again, I would rather create a benefit, but to get through any of these things, even if it's insomnia or what have you, all kinds of situations, simply learn to be now, and then just be real. Take a look at what's going on, and you don't have to be fast forward with anything. You don't have to feel guilty. We'll just use that idea about anything, even in the past. If you knew all your past lives, you really feel guilty. That's why it's nice to have a curtain drawn, because of all those times you've been killed or hated or did things, stupid things, etc. It all doesn't matter. All that matters is now. What will you do now, this very moment? So this is the opportunity, and that is, are you going to continue to do what you've always done? Well, that's a choice. All the boys can do is present something. All life can do is present itself, and it always is, but you got to recognize it. So again, what alleviates all this, just like I've said, as I've written the references and what have you, and that is that just be okay with everything and face it. Face all your creations and all the decisions you've made, and it's all okay. And you don't have to feel guilty about anything. You can handle it. And so just bring yourself into the nowness life is. Again, life is complete. It's an isness. Focus on the isness while you are doing your daily life, your activities, the new you, etc. Again, that's your awareness that is everywhere. And this is what's so cool about the isness is that you no longer have to project anywhere. You don't have to soul travel or go here or there. If you want to drag the body around and take a trip, go ahead. For me, I just, when people say, well, you want to come here, you want to go here, you want to go on the surfing trip, I go, no, I'm fine in Huntington Beach because I'm busy doing this. I know I only have so much time here. And this is where I want to be doing this all the time. So again, bring yourself into the now. Simply see everything is okay and work it from there. This makes sense as opposed to creating ideas that don't make sense. And guilt is one of them. It's like, oh, I should have did this or I should have did that. Well, instead of taking all that time to consider that, why don't you just go do it or not do it? You decide. So again, what makes sense? So. And insomnia, many people cannot get to sleep at night because their mind is too fast forward. And just like guilt or any other emotional idea, they're really all the same. They're just labeled differently. And see, the literalization of this world wants you to accept these different ideas as being different. So you need a pill for everything, or you need your own doctor for everything. Well, if that's the route you want to go for it. And you will always be chasing the so-called remedy, where really all you have to do is face it and see that it's nothing. Create an activity for yourself that does make sense with the all-natural environment and the whole of life, and guess what? Life supports you. You see, it can't support you if you're not listening and doing something that is in alignment and is real with it. So again, there's no need to project or think, oh, I want to leave my body at night and stuff like this. And that's all fine. But you don't really have to consider that because, again, life is already complete. So learn to see the completeness that it is. And then all these little ideas in the various bodies, the physical, astral, causal, mental, and even in the etheric subconscious, guess what? They just simply after a while, they just disappear. Because you don't need to consider them anymore, and you can do something real. Now you shine like the sun, and this is the best part. So again, it's not rocket science, but you really have to, once you start to live it and do it, you'll see that it really does make sense. It's just that simple. Yeah, so again, people are looking for an answer. They think that, oh, if I take this pill, I'm going to be healthier. Well, maybe you are, but again, now you got to keep buying the pills, don't you? And do you know what's in the pills? Do you really know what's in there? Again, the world's full of marketing ploy, but you decide. Eventually, as you focus on the nowness, the isness life is, while you're doing what you're doing, you will supersede everything and become self-sufficient. It only makes sense because you've decided it. But until you do, you don't. And while you're here, the challenge is, this is why you came here. You came here to wake up, and you came here to do your part. Now, in the future, I'm going to tell some stories about who came here and didn't do their part, and where they are now, they're not in a good place. Because, again, they decided to do nothing, so the end result of their life is nothing. They decided it. There's no curse or karma or any of these things. Everybody decides their position. But again, most people don't listen, so they think that they know more than life. So as they decide their position, and without the real guidance that life is and recognizing this, well, they put themselves in a particular area of life. Now they're lost again. And so for the most part, they reincarnate. So yeah, the guilt factor, it's huge. This was produced for the masses to feel guilty, to be attached to ideas that have no real purpose, that are just distortion. And again, you see people, it's a great example of guilt. Most people go out, they feel guilty that if they don't go out and shop and buy something that's basically not necessary for people. And Val has a great story about the vacuum cleaner thing, and that is that most people want things that don't make sense. And if it does make sense, like Val experienced, all of a sudden you kind of get in trouble. So, this is the challenge of this place. There's no figuring it out. I don't try to figure it out. It is what it is. You do the best you can, but learn to be now, recognize the isness, and do what you do. And I would say step up with us and what we're doing, because the boys are backing everything that I'm deciding, because it's for everybody. And this is where eventually everybody can become involved, and you can get beyond your 9-to-5 boring job, even that. So unless you want to stay there, your choice. So again, it's seeing the bigger picture. Yes, go ahead, Charles. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, one of the things tying people down is consciousness of sin. Oh, you have sinned, and so you have fallen short of the glory of God or the glory of life. Uh, if I if I even listen to the new presentation, it's a sin against God. It's I would burn in hell and all that. You see, I don't want to betray my pastor, my priest, my master. The repercussions will be very high, you know, and all that. So I came to the conclusion that where there is no consciousness of sin, there is no sin. I think, as you said, we should just wipe that out of our memory. The ingram is there, well rooted in the people's minds, and it's difficult to do away with it. You see, most people will listen to the no presentation from afar. Like I have a friend who is right now in Cheshire in England, where he's gone for holidays. I sent him one of the recorded one of the videos, one of the audios, yeah. The last one that you just posted on the New Start group, and he told me that he listened with rapt attention. So we talked on WhatsApp, you see, and he's so much entrenched in religion, not even in religion, in fact, in the kind of social sphere, that he listened to this just from the intellectual position. From the intellectual position, he's a highly qualified lawyer. He studied in Great Britain and the U.S. Can practice law anywhere either in the U.S., England, or in Cameroon. And he said that was great talk. That was great talk. So trying to get him go beyond the fact that it is just something intellectual is a problem. You see, and once you want to make him go beyond that point, it would be like he's committing a sin against the Catholic Church. You see, and that guilt factor will come in, and this is what is troubling people. People will listen to the new presentation from afar. It's just some good stuff. Hey, who is saying this? This is true, this and that. But they will not take the risk because of this guilt. So that is my observation.
You've done the best you can do, young man. So that's really all it is. So it's like a bird flying. The bird is demonstrating that, hey, you don't need restriction, but still people will decide restriction because, again, they have the burden of their free will in mind, and they don't really recognize how to utilize it. And let me just kind of add to this from what you said. Yeah, we talked about guilt and what have you. Here's the idea. It's not about getting rid of anything. You know, again, it's like anything that's taken place in the world. I'm not interested in getting rid of it. And those things within myself that I've experienced, no, those are valid. Every part of it is valid. I'm not interested in getting rid of it. That's not the idea. Because it's always there, and people say, well, gee, I want to get rid of this idea or this habit, but it's still there. You have to face the fact it's always there. It's like a book on a shelf. It's a reference now. It's something that you've experienced and you reference. It's not about getting rid of it. It's recognizing it for what it is and seeing what it's not. You see, that becomes the difference. We don't get rid of anything in life. Anything that you've experienced or created or whatever, it's already in life. And so this is where the misunderstanding of creation has become from the systems that control people. And just like you're saying, people are learning, etc., but they'll only go so far because, again, there's kind of been an encapsulation created. In other words, the idea is that if you become too aware, all right, it's not a good thing. You see, it's like becoming too healthy. And when I was in the hospital several years ago for my attack from the Cowl of God, I was talking to one of the doctors there. There's several of them in the room. And I told him that I do oxygen therapy. And he said, well, oxygen's not good for you. And so again, too much of it can be an overdose because, again, the body can only take so much of anything, just like a good meal, etc. But again, it's not about negating or getting rid of anything. It's simply recognizing what's going on, because everything that we're experiencing, we must experience to recognize what life is not, to where we eventually recognize what it is. We need all of this, so it's not a matter of that, like a magician, poof, I'll get rid of that, poof, I'll get rid of that. Even when someone supposedly dies here, they're not gotten rid of. You can't get rid of any individual. That's an illusion in a person's mind. This is where all the killings are going on in the world, and people are gotten rid of because they're whistleblowers or what have you, and all of a sudden they're disappearing. Well, they're not going anywhere. They're still here and now. They're still voicing their opinion, no matter if they got a body here or not. It's still taking place on the real side. And so, through all this process, it's what we're providing is a real education, showing people that, hey, you don't have to do all this funny stuff and complicate your life. All you have to do is wake up and become more aware, and you know what? Everything's okay. Yeah, it's just that simple, isn't it? Go ahead, Charles.
Okay, then, thank you. I think with that, I've come to the end of the session. My contribution today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. Yes, we always love to hear you. And yes, it is the world, and this will be fun. I want to see what Ebo can do and line up the radio shows. It's always fun. I love the challenge, whatever it is. And Claudia and I will be doing the third Orion Queen, because there's more to share. So eventually the world will pick up on this too. It's very real, but it's going to take a while to implement from the real side. And just like any of you here, the only reason, okay, I'll use that idea that you're here, is because at some point you were shown on the real side to eventually bring this awareness and recognition into the physical realm, because that's why you're here. This is the school of hard knocks. It's really tough here. You're on solid ground. Everything is basically rocks and black space. That's exactly where you're at. And it's not any more than that. You can imagine whatever you will, but you're usually imagining the astral and mental worlds, which is fine. It's all part of creation. But while you're here, this is your chance to wake up all the way. So, yes, what you've shared, Charles, and what have you, it's all our adventure. And we're sharing this. This is the best part. We're sharing this to wake up. So, again, as people pay attention, so there's more than just the personal life at hand. So, again, you have to be the real risk taker. Yes, thank you so much.